So guys, the Washington Wizards are a mess. It's looking rough out there. They're 1-7 as of the making of this video. They've lost 5 straight games by an average of 18.7 points per game. So it's not even that they're losing games. They're not even competitive. They're getting blown out. They rank in the bottom 5 in the league in both offensive and defensive efficiency, and they're dead last in the league in many defensive metrics, including opponent threes allowed per game, as well as opponent's points per game. So in this video, I want to go over some of the key issues with this team, and then I'll also talk about what I think the team should do going forward, and whether or not they should consider blowing it up or making any changes. As you can imagine, this video will be very, very negative. So let me start with some of the positives. Well, no, that's not the right word. Let me start with some of the valid excuses that I think can help explain part of the reason as to why the Wizards have been so awful. So number one, Dwight was injured for the first 7 games of this season, and the Wizards have had to start Ian Mahinmi. They've had to play Jason Smith at center. They've had to play Markieff Morris or Jeff Green at center a lot, which are generally not good ideas. And it helps explain why they've been an awful rebounding team so far. 29th in the league in offensive rebounds per game and 25th in the league in defensive rebounds per game. Not having their starting center has a lot to do with this, because they were not nearly this bad last year rebounding wise. The second thing is that the Wizards have indeed shot the 3 ball very, very poorly, and it's a bit of an early season fluke. Otto Porter Jr. is shooting 28%, Wall is shooting 24%, Jeff Green is shooting 14%, the team as a whole is shooting 32%, so you're gonna get some regression to the mean. Even if Washington fails to generate better shots, you're still gonna see that number go up. Now let's talk about what's wrong with Washington, starting with defense. So why are they so bad defensively? Well, the first thing you have to know is that they were never that great to begin with. Over the past 3 seasons, the Wizards have been around league average to below league average in defensive efficiency. And like mentioned, not having their starting center and thus giving up all those offensive rebounds makes things worse. Ian Mahinmi and Jason Smith get absolutely annihilated when they switch onto guards, and if you go small, you get 0 protection and 0 defensive rebounding. Like with most teams, a lot of Washington's issues defensively come down to communication and chemistry. I'll show you guys a clip that I think illustrates their issues right now. Right now, you're going to see Shelvin Mack receive the handoff, but I want you to notice what's going on the weak side. So weak side, right here, you got Austin Rivers matched up against Mike Conley and Kelly Oubre matched up against Dillon Brooks, okay? So in this case, we're going to press play. You're going to see Mack pass it off to Omri Caspi in the corner. Now, Otto Porter Jr. plays very good defense onto Caspi, right? But watch here right as a second. Caspi goes to make a move towards the middle-ish, okay? So right here at this moment, you see Mike Conley come from the corner where he was standing up to the wing, and Dillon Brooks going down. At this point, it should become well aware that Dillon Brooks is going to set a screen on Austin Rivers. Austin Rivers kind of notices this, but kind of doesn't, because he's not sure what to do. The reason why he looks like he's not sure is because this is Kelly Oubre's job at this moment to tell Austin Rivers what to do. Does he want to switch? If so, he should yell out switch, and Austin Rivers will switch onto Dillon Brooks, or at least he'll maintain his position, whereas Kelly Oubre will go up a little bit to challenge Mike Conley Jr., but he doesn't yell this. So at this point, Austin Rivers still thinks that he has to guide Mike Conley, whereas Kelly Oubre is still thinking that he's guarding Dillon Brooks and probably still helping out in the paint just a little bit. So I'm going to press play again and watch. At this point, Dillon Brooks screens for Austin Rivers. It's too late for Austin Rivers to go back to Mike Conley Jr. As a result, you have a wide open. Look at how wide open Mike Conley is on this 3, right? I mean, Mike Conley goes on to actually miss this shot, but whether he misses it or makes it is actually irrelevant. If you give up enough of these looks, you're going to end up last in the NBA in many defensive metrics. That's just how it works. And the reason why I pull out this play is to point out that none of this has anything to do with how good these players are individually at defense. Like, it really doesn't. You could have replaced Kelly Oubre Jr. and Austin Rivers with any 2 other defenders, but if they communicated well, they would have done better than them. It's unfortunate because Washington actually has a good amount of defensive talent. They got 2 pretty good wing defenders in Otto Porter and Kelly Oubre, who are both the prototype 6'7", 6'8" athletic wings that teams want in the NBA. Dwight Howard, despite how bad he looked defensively in his first game against Steven Adams, the guy is still an upgrade over Marcin Gortat last season. Although I have to say, John Wall's defense is really starting to bother me. And I guess I shouldn't say it's really starting to bother me. It's been not great for like the past 3 years. Let me explain. I remember back in 2014 when the Wizards first made the playoffs led by Wall. A big deal was made out of how good Wall was defensively. After all, the guy is 6'4" with a 6'9" wingspan, probably the fastest player in the league, consistently at the top of the league in steals per game, and also an absolute terror in transition. He's one of the best shot blocking guards in the league too. He was even elected second team all defense in 2015. But over the last year or two, Wall's defense has declined significantly. The shot blocking is still there, although it's not that important to begin with for a guard. And the really important stuff for a guard, which is pick and roll defense, getting through screens, that stuff has all gotten progressively worse. I want to say that this decline is because of John Wall's knee injuries, but I don't think that's necessarily the case. 2014 and 2015 are the years where Wall started establishing himself as a top-tier point guard in the league. He started making all-star games. He started taking more and more of an offensive burden as his confidence rose. And I think the combination of ego and lack of effort has caused his defensive downfall. And just to be clear, those two factors are not unique to Wall. Whenever a star player's defense starts to decline, even though they're still in their prime, ego and lack of effort are two of the first things you should think about. Not to say that it's never justified, right? Lack of effort for a star player often means that they have to spend their effort on the offensive end. LeBron is a great example. For the past 4 or 5 years, LeBron's defense in the regular season has been god awful. It's just been awful. It's horrific. And you can say that he has to reserve energy for offense and preserve his body, which are both very valid points in support of his lack of effort. But, like mentioned, ego is also a part of it. A lot of players in the NBA think that they're better than defense. Not even star players. Jabari Parker made some comments over the summer, essentially saying he doesn't give a shit about defense. And I'm not saying that Wall is as bad as Jabari Parker or LeBron, but the guy has a huge ego. Now, when you watch him, it'll seem like he's engaged on defense. He'll get into the right stances at times, but then the moment a screen comes, that's when the lack of effort shines through. Watch him try to get around screens. He doesn't fight through screens the same way other guards do. And in terms of solutions, look, the Wizards have the right personnel to build an above average defense. They really do. It's the chemistry and communication and effort that needs improving. And as someone from the outside, someone that doesn't run their practices for them, I'm not sure how they can do that exactly. So let's shift to offense for a second, because this is what's really concerning me, all right? And I'm not going to sugarcoat this. I'm going to be very clear about what I'm going to say, okay? Scott Brooks needs to go. Done. You're done. Bye-bye. You're done, all right? Now, from what I can tell at this point, the Wizards are not considering yet firing him, all right? But as far as I'm concerned, Scott Brooks, you gotta go. The Wizards' offense this season so far has looked identical to what it looked like last season, when it looked identical to how it looked in 2016, which is when Scott Brooks took over. Let me just describe to you verbally what is every single Wizards possession down the court, just to show you how there's absolutely no creativity in the offense, right? This is every Wizards offensive possession since 2016. John Wall will come dribbling up the court. He will look for Bradley Beal. The center will be setting a screen for Bradley Beal off the ball. John Wall will then pass to Bradley Beal. If Bradley Beal's open, he will shoot. If not, he makes a move. If that doesn't work, he passes it back to Wall. Wall then calls for either the power forward or the center to come screen for him, and then he will either dump it off to the center, right? Take a pull-up jump shot himself, which is a terrible shot, by the way, or passes out to Otto Porter Jr. in the corner for a 3. The end. That is it. I just described to you what they do every single time down the court. I swear, next time you watch a Wizards game, have what I just did repeating in the background as you watch them run their stupid little offense. There is no variation. There is no high-low action. There is no guard-on-guard screen. There is no elevator play. There are no trail screens. Been running the same thing for the last 3 years. And because their starting lineup actually has a lot of talent, and because Wall and Beal are such great offensive players, he can actually kind of get away with this stupid offense. That's just how good their players are. But it could be so much better. Let's not forget, all right? This is Scott Brooks we're talking about. Scott Brooks had this exact same issue back when he was in OKC. They also had an issue where every single possession down the court, it was just Westbrook, Durant, your turn, my turn. Were they still a great team? Absolutely. But could they have been much better? You bet your ass they could have been much better. All right? Let's be honest. Washington hired Scott Brooks, right, in order to lure KD in free agency. And when that didn't work, they had to stick with Scott Brooks. And now it's deja vu. Speaking of which, I've seen people discuss whether or not they should blow up this roster. And first off, I don't think they're going to, all right? And second off, I don't think they should, all right? I'm gonna make my case for that. The first reason is that Wall is signed through a max extension through the year 2023, and he's gonna be making $40 million per year. All right, to be honest, I'm not even sure there's much of a market out there for him. And even if there is, I don't really know what you could even get in return. Bradley Beal probably has a much greater market considering his contract and considering his talent. But if you're going to keep Wall, why trade away Beal? Right, those two work together really, really well on the court. I do think, however, that if you can find somebody who wants Otto Porter Jr., trading him away is probably a good idea because Kelly Oubre is developing and can replace him in the starting lineup. And two, you free up some cap space. But as far as Wall and Beal go, I'm not breaking that up. Right, it's too good, and you're not going to get anything better, realistically speaking. My solution is simple. Fire Scott Brooks. Get somebody new to bring into the locker room, hopefully round the locker room together so that they can start playing with more effort, especially defensively, and also somebody who can implement at least some creativity into the offense. Because if I have to watch another Wizards game where they literally just repeat the same thing over and over again down the court, I'm going to shoot myself in the forehead. That's it for today's video. Thank you for watching. If you have your own thoughts, I'd love to know. Drop it down in the comments. Tweet at me on Twitter, DM me on Instagram, whatever works for you. Thanks, guys. Peace.